I'm Bill Knoke. I'm an investment banker. I founded the Harvard Capital Group. We focus on helping companies get capital. They're going into new technologies. I'm also author of a book called Bold New World, The Essential Roadmap to the 21st Century, which attempted to chronicle where we're going over the next 20 or 30 years. It came out about 10 or 15 years ago, and it turns out to be remarkably accurate, so I'm looking forward to writing another book. Yeah, we live in a world where we have an accelerating rate of change. We evolved in the jungle and the villages, with a clan of 100 people, or as hunter-gatherers or whatever we were, where there wasn't a whole lot of change. The change is engendered by our technological advances, which makes a better quality of living for us and better economy, supposedly. But there's an unintended consequence of that, I feel, where the human fiber is not well adapted to the change at the pace that we're going into, where jobs change more frequently, where information changes frequently. And the problem is that our political institutions can't keep up with that, of how to govern it. In our spiritual institutions, we start to lose our sense of spirituality. It's a treadmill that I think people and their lifestyles need to adapt to, and they need to slow down a little bit. I think that humans are really good at processing a lot of information. But what you got to do is quickly know what to tune out of and what to tune into, and only pull out the parts that are edible, that you can use, and to not trip over the vines that you don't want. And so I think it requires a different mindset of focusing out what needs to be focusing on. As a futurist, we want to know what the future is like. When I wrote my book, right at the turn of the century, the future was clearer back then. And so I want to update the book about what the future's like that we have now, and it's not as clear. And I have to ask myself, is it because my mind is muddled, or is it because the dynamics have changed? And it turns out the dynamics have changed. We see now that we don't live in a linear world, that A causes B causes C. What in fact we live in is a complex network. That's a complex system where everything is related to everything else, where it's like dominoes, where one domino knocks over the next, but it's not in a linear fashion. It's that one domino falls and 5 around it immediately go, and 8 around that, or 25 around that immediately go. And it goes through the whole world network in ways that we didn't anticipate. You combine our knowledge base that's growing exponentially with our interconnectedness, which is growing exponentially. And so you get knowledge plus interconnections, which engenders a lot of creativity. And so we will live in a future where there's just a lot of new stuff that can happen. And as we move into a much more interconnected society, where everything is networked with everything, it's that kind of thinking, the science of complex systems or adaptive complex systems, that determine our future. We might ask ourselves the question, what can we do as an individual? And I think the main thing is to have empathy for the planet. I have this view of what I call the eye of the universe. Here's the Earth, and I try to look at it from a distance, and I say, what would the eye of the universe look at? Not me sitting in this chair in front of a fire, because that's not objective. But if we put ourselves outside and look down, as God might, as an extraterrestrial might, and to look down on the Earth, what are we doing right and what are we doing wrong? So it's to step outside of oneself and look at not the way the world is, but how should the world be? We're doing a lot of things wrong, but we're also doing a lot of things right. And I think what's required is balance. What's required is a combination of things, maybe a combination of spirituality, a combination of economic development. We need to look at views from the left and from the right, from above and from below, from the rich and from the poor. The debate has to take place, and we as a planet need to decide where we want to go.